Okay, everybody, we're going to get started. So what we'd like to do is hear from you guys. So the people that are closest to me are going to start first. Lucky you guys. So who is speaking on this side for your table? Hi. So go for it. What's your... Oh, I guess one second. I should describe the problem for those. For the folks on the other side of the... Yeah. Good. Well, I'm so sorry. I'm stealing notes here. So I thought I should read, in case the other side did not read option one, other side of the room. An organization is implementing a document imaging and workflow system across their organization, which affects 5 programs and 3 primary processes. 3 processes identified in the project scope are more complicated and impact more programs than originally anticipated. Because of the potentially expanded scope, the project is now in threat of exceeding the available resources and budget. So this side of the room is in charge of determining what does management need to support decision related to the scope and what key activities should be done.
Okay, our group thought that it would be a good idea, first of all, to understand what the impacts actually are, who's affected, and prioritize those impacts from low, medium to high. Some impacts are going to be livable, some impacts are not. So we would look at various models to present to management. We would show them model A is, these are the impacts, these are the livable items, these are the not livable items. If you choose this model, this is your trade-off. These are the costs, these are the additional resources, this is the extension on the timeline. And we'd do that for each different model that we would identify based on the impacts so that they could look at that and make a well-rounded decision what they're in for if they choose to either expand the scope or contain that scope to what their original idea was. On the second item, the types of things that we would do to prepare this material and deliver it, we'd be interviewing the different groups. First of all, how did we miss those impacts to begin with, these programs that were going to be impacted? How did we miss that? So we would go back and talk to the people who originally scoped the project. What was their understanding at the time? What did they fail to ask? Then we would go ask the projects that are impacted, what is it that this is going to mean to you? Let them actually lay out their expectation of the impact. What do they think they can live with and what can they not? How does it impact their core competency of their business? Then we would present that in various models to management for them to select from. And we would show them, mock schedules and resources, maybe even an economic analysis worksheet. What's our long-term M&O impacts on this? So we'd have stakeholder interviews, of course, maybe do some fishbone diagram to show them where our potential problems lie and how we might come up with some mitigation strategies around that. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, what we thought about.
Awesome. Cool. All right. I'm going to call you table 2. I didn't know for you guys. Who is speaking on your side? All right. The brave.
Yeah, so I don't know if we can live up to that standard. Well done, table 1. But we did have some ideas that offer a lot of overlap with the recommendations from table 1. But we observed that the analyst is responsible for going out and determining what the gaps are in the functional areas. They're going to need to reach out to all the people that contribute to the project and participate in the project. They're going to need to find out what additional resources are needed. They're going to need to be able to articulate that back to management. In cases where a lot of additional resources are needed by a team or set of teams, we have to talk about what kind of projects we can't do now because of this increase in scope in this project. Anytime you choose to do something, you choose not to do something else, and the analyst is responsible to deliver that back to their manager. Let's see, we talked about the idea that we might be able to give up other deliverables in exchange for the scope. We looked at possibilities of in getting increased funding or augmented staff. We looked at possibilities of redistributing responsibilities. So for example, in document management models, oftentimes indexing and validation, quality control is often delegated to the IT group. Maybe that can be distributed out to other parts of the organization to do on their own, thus reducing the overall impact to the IT organization. And I think that was about it. All right? Thank you.
Good job, you guys. Table 3 is just going to be like, ditto. Sorry. All right, who's up? Yes.
Hi, I'm Dorothy Anderson, and yes, this is ditto. Well, we had basically the same thing. It was important to bring everybody together because it affected many program areas, and then understand what the impact is of the different areas. But on number 2 is to draw up some workflows and do some brainstorming sessions, and pros and cons on what they really, really want and think that they really need and why.
That's what I would do. Cool. Does our team want to add anything to option 2 or option 1? I'm sorry, or scenario 1? No, I think they pretty much nailed it. I mean, these guys are on it. All right, scenario 2. I'm going to steal someone's paper because I didn't grab one. Do you mind if I sneak in here and steal your paper? Okay. So for the other side of the room, scenario 2, stale requirements. An organization developed business requirements for a project. The project, this has never happened ever. Nobody has been in this scenario. The project took 3 years to move through the procurement process. The project finally has been initiated. The subject matter experts that developed the requirements are no longer around. The new vendor is on board and doesn't understand some of the requirements. And the new subject matter experts say they don't meet their needs. They're not correct. What do you do? Who here's taking it? All right, brave man.
She has important paper. Okay. So basically, what we started with is to identify the current business needs for the project itself, and to then revisit or actually review possibly with our stakeholders internally and externally, and make sure that we're still on focus for our project. Maybe if it has to, we'll have to rewrite some of the requirements or revisit them and make adjustments as needed. Add clarity, as we're saying, to some of the issues, because some of the people who were here before are now gone. And maybe processes change, technology keeps moving forward, like we heard downstairs below, all day today, that it's moving fast. So take some time, reevaluate those items. Again, check with our stakeholders, make sure that they're still in line with what we want to do, make sure they understand the process we're going to go through. Internally, we talked as a business person is to update our own knowledges, because 3 years has gone by. We've been kind of on hold, kind of stagnant a little bit, still processing. Hopefully, we've been keeping up on our processes, so we understand what the business needs of our stakeholders and our internal processes are in our own technology, what's going on. Look to others, because hopefully we can maybe reach out to those people who have left the project, because things were kind of stagnant, get their information, see what did you really mean by that requirement? We don't understand what you mean by that requirement anymore. So, or we want to change that requirement. Are you okay? Is that what you really meant? So questions like that go out to external people, and then understand what those maybe the gaps are. Learning what did we miss? What's new? What's changed? What's going forward? So we can fill those gaps and reduce some of our risk in all those processes. And then again at the end, gain collaboration with the people who are maybe coming in. We lost people going out. You're still there. People are coming in. Let's put people together. Let's talk about, okay, what do you know? What I know? Let's fill those gaps. Let's work together to get a good solution.
All right, next table. Who's up? You're staring at me. Must be you.
That's me. It is. That's correct. So we had mainly kind of very similar kind of recommendations or thoughts. The first thing, though, we did say that we should go to the sponsor and tell them there may be some problems with the project. Yeah, although I don't know why we got selected, but we got the short straw. So, and then yes, what we suggested is we would go through the requirements, the current requirements, to see how they fit. Also, look at the current situation and kind of do a gap analysis there. Hopefully from there we'll be able to look at the different alternatives, pros and cons, also the risks. And out of that kind of, having done that, we would then be able to kind of make a recommendation. We would then meet with the program steering committee and look for a no-go, go kind of decision, whether to go forward with the project based on either our recommendation or, maybe one of the alternatives or a modification to that. Yep.
Wonderful. All right, last table. Who's up? Who wants it? Who wants it? All right, Nellie, you're up.
Oh, I'm up. Okay.
Nobody else will take it.
Ditto. No. We were actually saying that there's not a project that we've come across that doesn't have stale requirements because, hey, Regina, we went to high school together. I just noticed you. The procurement process is so long, and business changes, and technologies change, and there's legislative mandates. There's all kinds of things that can happen between an FSR and the actual kickoff of a project. So we felt that just going back and revalidating all of the documentation on the project, starting with the charter, the business objectives, if stakeholders have changed, what's changed, kind of, and revalidate that. And then, like all the other tables said, look at each of those requirements, talk to the people that are there. Sometimes it's kind of a disadvantage or an advantage to have, if people have left, subject matter experts have left, because if they leave, it's like an encyclopedia leaving sometimes, because sometimes things aren't documented very well. But sometimes fresh ideas and new people with new experiences can come in and look at the business objectives and come up with some fresh ideas too that would be interesting to management and wouldn't impact too much the budget, maybe the scope, but then you would follow a change management process, of course, with what your findings were and what management actually ended up deciding based on your input and your alternatives that you presented.
Wrong. No, I'm just kidding. No, sorry. Our personality starts to come out. Sorry. A little rein that back in a little. The point of that obscene statement was actually that there is no wrong answer. Every one of you came up with the right answer. The point of being a business analyst is you figure it out. You're going to come up with against a million different scenarios with a million different problems, and you just have to figure out how to get where you need to go and meet everybody's needs. It's easy, right? But you find a way through it. And being curious, being a good listener, all of those things really will help you get there. So we are at, what time are we? I lost track of where we are. We're early. Let's do another scenario. So we're going to do this again. You're not done. Okay. So scenario 3, this side of the room. Scenario 4 on this side of the room. And we probably won't be able to talk through everybody's table, so we'll see how many people we can answer the question. But go for it.